Are you a permanent resident and you filed for your spouse a petition, or you're considering to do that? You want to watch this video. Now, I just recorded a video earlier on how to check the processing times, and it was showing, for example, like this, the form category as a resident, okay? Now down here right below it is a service center. So you have to find that on the bottom of your receipt notice. So for example, someone told me that they're at the California Service Center, okay, their petition, and it shows 32 and a half months. That's hell of a long time. That's almost 3 years. So what are you going to do about it? And that's only just a petition, step number 1. So you need to think about the next option, and that is to become a U.S. citizen, because being a U.S. citizen and filing for a spouse is considered immediate relative classification, which means as soon as the petition approved, technically the visa is immediately available and you don't have to wait for the visa bulletin, which I'll share in a second. But you can see here, if you're filing for a spouse and you're a resident, then you're not going to be able to meet this 3-year rule, because being eligible for file for N400 after 3 years, you have to be still married to that U.S. citizen that sponsored you originally. So it's going to default to the 5-year rule. So let's say, for example, you became a resident in January 1st, 2020. That means you have to calculate 5 years from then. So that'd be January 1st, 2025. Now you can actually file the application within 3 months before that date. Now, knowing all that is important because everyone wants to know, what is the way to speed up the case? There's more you need to know, unfortunately. The next step after petition is approved is relying on this visa bulletin. You go to Google search visa bulletin and you pick the most recent one. And upcoming is actually September 2023. So your family preference, if you sponsored a spouse as a resident, you're going to look at F2A. And it depends which column, depending on which country nationality is depending on the column, okay? So for most countries, it's going to be the second column you see there, all chargeable areas. So all these dates here is a priority date. So the priority date is on your 797 receipt notice of the I-130. So let's just say, for example, you filed the I-130 in October 2020. The receipt date is not always precisely exactly the priority date, but sometimes pretty close. So let's just say you had October 1st, 2020. Now, assuming just future thinking, your spouse already had the interview. Now this is the problem, okay? So you can see here that they're only issuing visas that show an F2A for all their countries January 2018. That is a huge problem. So this chart A, by the way, they have 2 charts. So in this situation, chart A is about when they actually issue the visa and paste it onto the passport. So then people ask me, what the hell do I do now? Well, be ready. Mark your calendars on when you're eligible to file for N400. Hopefully by then, your case with your spouse is already complete and your spouse gets the visa. But just in case there's the delays and there's still more retrogression of visa issuance, like I just showed you for F2A, then hopefully by the time you finally process to become a citizen, then your spouse doesn't have to wait anymore, okay? But in this situation, depending on the stage of your case right now,